Thank you so much for coming to our In Case You Missed It recording of our live webinar on Schoology Must Haves. If you're visiting us on YouTube, please take a moment to give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And also go ahead and click on that bell so that you can be notified of all our upcoming videos. Because you stopped by to check out this recording, you get access to the same freebies as the live seminar participants. Just scroll down to the bottom of this video and you'll see those links straight to your Google Drive. Enjoy the webinar, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any member of the Learning Technologies team. Until I see you again, always keep growing. So we're going to go through the presentation. We're going to talk a little bit today about the must-haves of Schoology. So this is the plan for today. We're going to recognize what those 4 must-haves are for your Schoology course. Then we're going to gain some insight into the best practices on those must-have. And then lastly, I want you to leave with some resources that you could use immediately in your classroom. Does that sound good? Give me a thumbs up. Yes. All right. So first and foremost, what are the Schoology must-haves? So the Schoology must-haves are 4 base elements that all Cincinnati public school teachers should incorporate into their Schoology course in order for our students and parents to be able to connect to our classrooms. So when our students are learning online or when our parents are searching for information about our classrooms online, these are the 4 base elements that all teachers should have on their Schoology course. Now, when we talk about why we have established Schoology must-haves as a curriculum department, it really is all about equity. We do have a very, very transient district where we have a lot of parents that where their student starts in the school year may not be the school that they end up graduating from at the end of the school year. We also have a lot of families that have multiple students. So imagine being a parent trying to navigate how their student at Ethel Taylor may be different than their student at Aiken. And we don't want for those classrooms to look so completely different that it becomes a burden on our families. So we want to have some very, very common elements in order to remove those barriers so that parents understand what they should see in their school, in their child's online course. So here they are. These are the 4 must-haves: learning outcomes, materials, assignments, and due dates. That's it. It's that simple. It's really, really important that when our families go onto their child's Schoology course, that they're able to understand what is it that their student is expected to learn, what materials do they need to be successful in the task, what are the assignments that their child is being given to show mastery on the standard, and then lastly, when are those things due? Because we know that late work can get overburdensome, so it'll really help our students and families to be able to problem solve and plan if they understood when the teacher expected for that work to be in. So now let's take a moment and look at each one of the Schoology must-haves and talk about a few best practices in incorporating those into your course. So the first must-have is learning outcomes, and some things to think about when posting your learning outcomes. First of all, is to write them in student-friendly language. It's really easy for us as teachers to copy and paste the standard, but sometimes the Common Core and the Ohio Learning Standards don't make it as easy and clear to our students, especially if they're younger. So rewriting those as I can statements so that they're student friendly really makes sure that the student understands what it is that they're learning. I would also suggest that you write the actual letter and numbers to the standards. So for example, in math, if I wrote 5 NBT4, I know that that's a number since standards. It's numbers in base 10. Even if the students and families don't know exactly what those numbers mean, it helps to communicate that the work that you're giving them is on grade level. If I was giving my 5th graders something that said 3 NBT, they're going to know that there should be a 5 in front of that. And it makes them just feel, why is it that I'm not being trusted to be given work that is on grade level? So include that standard so that our students and families know that the work that they're given is respectful to their learning path. And then one more thing to think about is to communicate a learning outcome each day. Now, as teachers, we know that we could be working on the same standard for multiple days, and it may be easier for us to just say, this is my learning target for Monday through Wednesday. But as the parent and as the student, if they're absent on Tuesday, they have to then figure it out. Is this what I'm learning to the day that I was absent? Is it Monday? Well, I was there Monday. Well, it gets a little frustrating and confusing for them. So even if we have to repeat that standard, it helps them to understand what exactly it was that they would have missed. And if they're learning from home, it helps them to know exactly what it is they're learning and working on each day. The next Schoology must have is materials. And when you're posting your materials, think about these things. First of all, list the materials adjacent to each activity so that it is clear. Sometimes in our classrooms, when they're in person, there's that special spot in our room that our students know to go there to get materials. But on our Schoology pages, there could be folders all over the place. There could be things in materials. There could be things in updates. So you don't want for students to be confused on where it is that they're getting the things they need to finish an assignment. So linking those materials, especially if they're digital, which is the second best practice, right there next to the activity, really helps the students have everything in one place. And then lastly, if you use any materials or manipulatives in your classroom that you know of a digital version of, then link those also with the activity. So for example, if our math students were using pattern blocks, and that really helps them to access the learning, if they're learning outside of the classroom and don't have that, that could really be a barrier to them showing their understanding. But if I was to put a digital version of pattern blocks there for them, then they're able to use the same manipulative, even if it's in a different format, which may actually help them to show that they have mastery of the learning. And then the last two Schoology must-haves are assignments and due dates. And it seems kind of obvious that we should make sure that we list our assignments, but there's a couple things that I would suggest that you think about as you're posting them. First, list the assignments in the order in which they're due. Now, if you're like me, I tend to list things in the order that they pop off my brain. I think about this, write it down. I think about this, write it down. That way I don't have to worry about remembering to go back. However, even if you intend for the students to be able to complete things in any order, our brain tends to like to start at the top of the list and go down. So to help our students and families to prioritize, list the assignments in the order in which they're due. And then call attention to those due dates by using bold letters or italics or even different colors like I have on this slide, because that really helps students and families to be able to prioritize. And they don't have to kind of search around to make sure that they're doing things on time. Next, I would highly encourage that you create an assignment calendar that maybe is housed somewhere that you let the students know on your Schoology page. And there's a dual purpose for that. First of all, it really helps for the students to understand what their workload is and how much time they have to complete assignments. So as they're trying to prioritize and decide what it is that they want to do first, seeing that clearly on the calendar really helps them to be able to do that. It also helps you as a teacher to clearly on one page see the workload that you're giving students. And if that seems overwhelming to you as you calendar it out, then you may want to rearrange some due dates or take off some assignments to make sure that we're respecting the learning path of our students and not overwhelming them. And then lastly, I would highly suggest that you link the materials and resources and manipulatives, anything that a student would need to be successful on that assignment, right there on the assignment. Again, when we're in the classroom, my students know where scissors are, they know where markers are, if they need a dry erase board, they know exactly where it is. They know where the stapler is, they know where all of those things are in our classroom. But that may not translate well on your Schoology page because you can't just take this box of pattern blocks and put it on their desk. So we want to make sure that all of those materials are essentially on their desk there when the assignment, so that they're able to have everything in one place. Because again, it's all about removing barriers that the students would have to actually showing mastery on the content that we're asking them to show us. Now, in organizing all of these things, another best practice is to use digital agendas or slides in your classroom, and they are an absolute lifesaver. This is an example of one that I set up in my classroom that shows all of my Schoology must-haves. I have my learning standard, I have the materials the students need, everything here on this slide, and it really helps for you to incorporate the Schoology must-haves and also clearly communicate any important information that students may need. It also helps to focus your classroom because everything is there for the students to see and know. And the most exciting part is that it makes your life easy. Because I embedded this on Schoology through Google Drive, I can take that exact same slide deck and project it in my classroom. And if I need to make any changes, I only have to change it once because it's on a Google slide. So I change it there in my classroom and it'll immediately update it on Schoology because you've embedded that Google slide. And if that is not something that you know on the top of your head how to do, then I want you to type really quickly in the chat, show me more, and we'll make sure that we put a video together on how to embed slide decks into Schoology. Because like I said, it's going to save you tons and tons of time. And now it is time for some freebies. I don't know if you love freebies, but I love freebies. Remember, one of our goals is to be able to walk away from this webinar today with something that you can immediately use in your classroom. So to save you some time, what I did is I searched the internet looking for already created slide decks that you could use as your agendas. And so I am going to take this, let me find this link here. I'm going to take this link and put this in the chat. And what this is a Google folder that has several different of the template slides in it that you can use immediately in your classroom in order to organize your Schoology must-haves. And the most beautiful and awesome thing is that they are all editable. So for example, the one that I used on the example on the last slide, it has a space that you can put a video. But I didn't necessarily use that in my classroom, so I just deleted that part and replaced it with a calendar. Because like I said before, that was more beneficial for my students to see than necessarily me taping a video announcement for myself. So they're all completely editable. You choose the one that works for your aesthetic in your classroom and the specific elements that you communicate to your students. And if you don't like any of them, they at least give you some ideas for you to be able to create your own. I never actually thought about putting a video on that slide deck agenda until I saw that. So it kind of helps you a little bit for you to decide what's best for your classroom. So just to debrief, these are our 4 Schoology must-haves, our learning outcomes, to make sure that the students and families understand what is it that we're learning, what are our key learnings for the time, the materials that the students need to be successful on the assignments that we're giving them, and also the due dates so that they are able to prioritize. Thank you so much for coming and learning with me. We're going to be doing plenty of webinars here with curriculum and instruction, so please keep your eye on Schoology so that you can see what's coming soon.